Ali Gellert. Ali, over to you.
Hi everyone, and thanks so much to Ben and to Becky and the British Computing Society for inviting me. I'm delighted to see you today, and I very much hope that this will be a really meaningful and useful session for you. So who am I? I'm Ali Gillette, and I work for Big Education, which is a multi-academy trust who runs schools in London, in Stratford and Southwark, and we also lead a number of national programmes such as Rethinking School, Rethinking Assessment, Enrichment for All, and other coalition groups. And in terms of who I am, I started off as a secondary teacher. I've worked in secondary and primary schools and all through, mainly state, but also independent, in teaching, in governance. I've worked for multi-academy trusts in leadership and for local government. And what I've done for the last 10 or so years is to look at sector transformation. So people tend to bring me problems, head teachers bring me problems, and we come up with solutions either regionally or nationally to fix them. And the Big AI project is one of those. So I'm delighted to share with you today what it is, what we've seen in terms of the transformation, and how you can get involved. There will be time for questions at the end after I've done the presentation, and you will also get all the slides. So do feel free to ask questions in the chat that Ben will note down as we go, and then we'll have those at the end. So Ben, if I could have the first slide, please. So I thought we'd start with why the Big AI project. So the Big AI project started in October 2024 when Liz, our CEO, was asked by the people who fund the project, which is Salesforce, and they funded Big Education for a number of years with different leadership projects, mainly, not tech projects. And they said to Liz, could you run an AI project across the UK? And Liz said, I don't know anything about AI. And she realised that the more she spoke to other CEOs, to other heads, to other teachers, to other parents, to other students, that this was actually an area where there was a considerable concern and a considerable lack of neutral information for school leaders, teachers and pupils. So that's where the Big AI project came from. And I'm just going to give you a few of the statistics that show why it's needed, and then I'll tell you what it actually is. So obviously you can read the stats on the screen, but 76% of UK teachers say they're unprepared for AI. And yet, only 2 lines down, 60% of teachers are regularly incorporating AI into their duties, which, when we've got the confidence rating of 43% of teachers being 3 out of 10, is a considerable concern. And actually, the proportion of teachers using AI regularly has gone up to 70% since this report, which was only a few months ago. So there's a significant number of teachers using AI in the classroom and behind the scenes. I'll show you some figures about students in a moment, and yet we know from these figures and from talking to thousands of teachers and leaders that actually most schools are feeling very unprepared for it. So if I can have the next slide, please. This is the picture for students. And actually, again, since this report, which is only from a few months ago, we've got a more recent report in the last couple of weeks, where the latest statistic is that 97% of 8 to 17-year-olds are using AI, which obviously means that schools need to understand it. And this is not about whether a school chooses to use AI or not, because that's entirely up to the school. This is about being prepared for what students are already doing. And one stat that we use with our school leader training is 90% of students want to learn to use AI more effectively. Now, it's very rare that we're actually teaching something that the vast majority of students want to learn, but this is one of those occasions. Which is why it's such a delight to actually have materials for students as well. And before we undertook the Big AI project, we actually surveyed 2,000 parents, school leaders, teachers, primary pupils and secondary students to actually ask for their thoughts on both their views on AI and what it was they wanted to see. So what we've designed has very much been based on that. And you'll see on that slide there's also a government quote that says that parents and pupils are regularly sharing things online without an understanding of what's happening. So without further ado, if I could have the next slide, I'll tell you what the Big AI project actually is. So I'm going to go through an overview. The Big AI project has one goal, and that is to equip every school in the UK and the Republic of Ireland with what is needed to approach an AI-infused world. So that is a world where AI is everywhere, no matter what our view is of it. Safely, ethically, and strategically. So that is the goal. And so far we've reached about 600 schools since we had the pilot in October, and we've started the national rollout. And over the next 2 years, subject to funding, we'll be rolling out across the whole of the UK, and we're working with regions at the moment to explore what that looks like. We've had significant reports of transformation within schools, particularly those who were on our pilot, which was back in October to December. So we had many schools who were on the pilot training, so school leaders, teachers and students. And since then, they've reported a significant increase in their understanding, their confidence, and we're seeing a lot more strategic approach actually to using AI. So everything that we were hoping for has come about. And just for information, the school leader training that we do, which is 4 hours long, the average rating from our heads who've attended so far is 9.5 out of 10. So we're really pleased, and most heads are saying this should be statutory, because actually I don't know how other schools are running this area without this kind of support. Before we move on, I just want to mention a few key points. So firstly, the Big AI project is funded by Salesforce, so they've given a continued grant for this programme, but they are not someone that sells to schools, which is super important to us, because the project is AI agnostic. That means that we don't promote any tools, and that's super important to us, because a lot of the messaging that's coming out to schools is actually promoting specific tech tools, which obviously means it's not a neutral approach. We are not pro-AI, and we're not anti-AI. We're aiming to give a really balanced view for every school in the country. And in fact, we've had a lot of global interest, so that they can really make their own minds up. And the head teachers who come on our training, and the CEOs and the directors of education from trusts and from local authorities, are saying it's enabling them after just 4 hours to go back with a strong action plan and to lead on this area effectively. So that is what we're seeing, and I'll give you a bit more detail as we go. So if you can have the next slide, please. What actually is it? It's led by Big Education, and I'll show you our partners in a moment, because we've got over 50 partners who are working with us. It is designed to develop school leader and teacher capacity in AI. So to understand where AI fits into the world, and enough of the background to it to approach it in an effective way. It is not training on how to use AI in terms of the software, because there are other courses available for that, but it's designed to cover a number of the key areas. And we also train young people, so we now have curricula from age 3 to 14 in AI literacy skills, and there are reports coming out on a daily basis that are saying that this is critical worldwide, because students are using AI and they need to understand how to approach it safely. And they're also receiving things from AI, even if they're not using it, through social media and through the news and through other things. So it's important they really understand how it works. It's all designed through the head, heart and hand philosophy, which is this idea about a rich education, and that students need to think about all aspects of their life, not just the academic side, which obviously is critical. Okay, next slide, please. So what actually has been designed and by whom? So we have a variety of resources I'm going to share with you in a moment. They're all designed by teachers and school leaders. That was super important to us, that they're actually designed by people on the ground who are currently teaching and leading. A number of people within the group actually had never used AI before, right through to people who are self-professed AI experts. So there was a real range to ensure that the person who feels least confident within a staff room, or within leading a school, or within a classroom as a student, can actually be brought forward and be moved on by this approach. Professor Rose Luckin is our academic partner, so many of you would have come across Rose if you haven't worked with her yourself, and she has quality controlled all the materials, so they're all signed off by her team to ensure that not only are they teacher designed, but they're actually best practice, and that what we're training and what we're doing within the materials is going to result in the best possible results for the children, young people and so on. So we had 230 schools as part of the pilot represented, and they tested all the materials before Christmas, before we then reframed them with Rose's team, and then we went live on the 6th of March. So what I'm talking about now is the rollout that we started on the 6th of March. I have led 10 sessions so far across England, and we're rolling out to the whole of the UK next year. And we've done some sessions in the Midlands. We've got a session coming up in Bath. We've run some in the north and some near London. So we've tried to do a variety of them this term. what we're seeing is that school leaders are making significant impact, and if any school here wants to be connected to one of those school leaders to hear some of their stories, then feel free. But also, one of the things I'm going to show you in a moment enables you to actually read some of the stories of the people who've been involved. Because for me, if I want to know what it was actually like to be part of something, I like reading about someone else who's been part of it. And so I'm going to share that with you in a moment. Okay, next slide, please, Ben. Thank you. So the main partners within the project, just to give you a bit of grounding, are Good Future Foundation, Salesforce, who obviously fund it, and Educate Ventures. Now, Educate Ventures is Professor Rose Luckin's organisation, and so that's given you a bit of a flavour. But then if we can have the next slide, I'm going to show you how you can actually start to access some of this information. So my first recommendation of the day is the Good Future Foundation Quality Mark, and I saw we had one of the assessors on here, so that's fantastic. What is the Quality Mark? There's one word I need to use right now, which is free. Everything I'm going to mention to you on this whole call is all free, and that's super important to me. This is not a traded service. This is designed to be accessible to everybody. So the Good Future Foundation Quality Mark has been designed by experts and teachers and leaders again. It is available globally, and it has thousands of schools currently going through the process. There are 4 levels, and the reason why we promote this is because what we've heard from the schools who've undertaken it is that by undertaking the process, it has significantly moved on their thinking and their planning in how to use AI within their school, whether that's back office, whether it's in teaching, whether it's for planning, whatever it is they're choosing to do in their school. This is something that has significantly supported them. And you've got the link there directly to the Good Future Foundation Quality Mark, so I would thoroughly recommend that. It's a key partner of the Big AI project, but it is something that in its own right will really help you. You undertake the process, you achieve whatever accreditation they feel is appropriate, but also you then receive free training and support to take you into the next level, which we've heard from schools and trusts is exceptionally helpful. So if I could have the next slide, Ben, I'm going to give you my second freebie of the day, which is the Shape the Future Coalition. So if you're not part of this already, I'd strongly recommend it. Again, they're our partner. This is Rose's coalition. There are hundreds of schools in the coalition, nationally and globally. And as you can see at the bottom right there are 7 areas they research. And by being a leader in this coalition, you can either take part in the research in your school and be one of the leading schools globally in this, or you can just receive the research from those 7 research strands. And we know from schools that have been part of this, it significantly helped them with their framing of what to do in those 7 key areas. So again, you'll have the QR code to join that and Dina's contact details. So there's 2 things already. If you're not part of those, I would strongly recommend them. If I could have the next slide. These next few slides are just to give you a bit of a flavour of some of our partners. So obviously you can look at this when it's sent through. But we've got Cambridge and Oxford University there. We've got obviously the British Computing Society, who've been a brilliant partner, Careers and Enterprise Company, Skills Builder and the PSHE Association, the Charter College, and that's just a selection of them, and the National Governance Association. So we've got a real variety of experts who are leading on this, and where you see advice throughout our programme, it's all designed by those experts in terms of the advice of governors is designed by the NGA, for example. So it's been a real pleasure, and the National Institute of Teaching. It's been a real pleasure to work with so many sound and innovative organisations on this. The next couple of slides, if you can just flick through them then, are actually the schools and organisations and people who've designed it. So if you're interested in connecting with some of the people who've been involved in the design of the programme, those are the individuals who've helped design it. And then if we can have the next slide, these are some of the hosts that we have. And if you're interested in hosting your region, please do drop me an email. I'll give you my email address later, because we will be looking for regional bases across the UK. So that's kind of a bit of context for you, so hopefully it's been useful, but we're now going to move straight on to actually what is the Big AI project and what we've seen. So what we do is when we do the school leader training, we have 3 goals. Schools reflect on their current position as a school. They explore a framework which has been designed and accredited nationally and globally, which helps them to consider where AI fits into their school. And then they actually, during the sessions, school leaders plan their next steps action plan. By signing up to the school leader training, you have access to all the resources for free, and you can then use them freely in your school and your trust. So if we can move on, please. I'm going to show you some of the resources and some of the things you get as part of the programme, and then take questions, and once I've shown you how to be part of it, so you can see what you'd like to know more about. So within the Resources Hub, which is what people get access to after the training, there's the Framework of Principles, which is a very effective tool. And the checklist is actually an audit tool that we use with schools as part of the training, so they can see where to focus their attention initially. Obviously, all of the slides from the training are given across. I'm going to show you in a minute the big question schools are asking about AI resource guide, because that's been extremely popular, and mention the report in a moment as well. And I've already talked about the quality mark and the coalition. So that's half of what you get from being part of the project. So if I could have the next slide, please. We also have, as well as the school leader face-to-face training, which is going to be delivered across the UK and beyond, we also have 6 online teacher training materials. And I'm going to show you these in a moment. And these enable teachers to go from nothing, so teachers who know nothing and often are quite cautious and scared of AI, right through to a position where they understand exactly where AI fits into the world and are able to work with students on it, and if they choose to use it, and if you choose to use it in your school, use it very effectively. We also have 5 AI literacy curricula, so we've got one for early years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a specialist secondary one for children with SEND or young people with SEND. And all of those materials have been designed by phase specialists, so they're designed to be completely accessible to the relevant year groups. They're sequential, so they build on each other. And if you do have any questions about the detail, I'm more than happy to go through the detail, but I'm deliberately keeping it short so you can ask lots of questions. They're designed to fit in within the current curriculum, and the schools on the pilot said they fitted in beautifully with what they already had to teach, and there was no problem with embedding them in the current curriculum. The years 7, 8, 9 secondary are designed to be delivered by 8 different people if necessary, so within different subject areas, so that they can fit in. And the primary one is designed to be delivered by the normal class teacher within normal class lessons. They're not computing lessons, they don't use AI, they're about how to approach AI. So if I could have the next slide, please, Ben. I'm just going to share some of what you actually get. So this resource, and this is just the cover of it, because obviously I can't go through the whole thing, is designed because schools are saying we want to know where to go for really good quality advice, free advice. So our 50 partners that we told you about earlier, so Cambridge, Oxford, Chartered College, DFE, OECD, etc., have all pulled all their resources, and they've said who the resources are for and given us all the links, and we've put together a spreadsheet that you can use to actually access all of those partner resources for free, so that you can get a much broader understanding if you're interested, for example, in AI in assessment, or in AI in skills, or in AI in pedagogy. There's a whole variety of resources, including the British Computing Society there, so it points you towards really good quality and high level resources. In terms of the next slide, I'm going to talk you through some more of the materials. So this is the Big AI Project report, and if you're interested in what have we found, this is the best place to go. And on the last slide, I've given you the link to the report, so you can actually download it for yourself. And it tells you the whole story about what's happened so far. And if you're interested in just the summary, there's obviously an executive summary, but in the middle of the report, you can actually see case studies. So we've got case studies from multi-academy trusts and from individual schools, both from schools that have 5 staff through to multi-academy trusts that have 60 schools. And there's lots of case studies in the middle there for you that you can use to see what schools are saying they've learnt and where they've gone. That's across the whole of the UK actually, because we did have schools from outside England within that pilot. So that's where you can get all the detail if you want to know more than I'm able to give you in just a few minutes. Then if we could have the next slide, please. In terms of the teacher training, this is an example of what it covers. So all of the materials, whether it's for school leaders, whether it's for teachers, or whether it's for children, all have these same themes. So it's all about demystifying AI. Where does AI fit in history? Where does it fit in the world? Where might they see AI? Where might they experience it? What are some known risks? What are some known possible benefits? How does it impact on a variety of different areas? So obviously there's a lot on safeguarding and on data privacy and ethics. There's an awful lot of ethical considerations that we include within this. We have a whole module on critical thinking and problem solving, because what we know, because we work with partners worldwide, is that critical thinking is going to be one of the most important skills for young people and teachers moving forward. So the more we have AI in the world, the more important it is for human skills, and Skills Builder Universal Framework is one of our key partners globally and they've informed a lot of the material here about what is actually needed within the classroom, and in terms of number 4 there, what is needed within careers. And I'm part of a global careers consortium with Eton College and partners across the world looking at the future of work and what actually will be needed for our young people in terms of a curriculum. So we're doing some extensive research there now. And the number one thing that employers say they want, just as a freebie, is they want adaptability. That's the number one skills that employers want. And I went to Google headquarters on Friday for their Future of Work Day, where they were talking about what is going to be needed from young people as they leave school now and in the future. So we've really tried to embed that within the learning here. One bit of great news is that when young people did the AI literacy course, their critical thinking improved immensely. So what we heard from teachers, and this was as young as 8, the students, they said that not only did the students develop significant critical thinking when it came to looking at AI material, but they actually started to use critical thinking within all their curriculum and ask deep, meaningful questions and powerful questions throughout all their learning at school. So it was fabulous to hear that from a whole variety of schools, to hear the transformation that was happening with young people. And one of the difficulties is we've spent millennia teaching children that they should learn from us and that adults will tell them what they need to know. And now we have to flip that on its head and basically teach that everything they see could be false. And we've had some expert advice from the National Institute of Teaching. Rob Nash is their head of psychology and he's a world expert on misinformation and disinformation and the current world of truth and the impact it's having on everything from elections through to wars through to day-to-day living. So within the materials there's some really strong training on those things, and it's using the latest research about how to actually get children and teachers to be more critical when they're looking at materials, whether it's from AI or from a person, to ascertain whether it might be true or not. Module 5 is all about implementing the curriculum, the AI literacy curriculum that we've got there, and explains it all. And then the final module is about how do you take the theory that they've learned in those sessions into practice. And we found that schools have embedded this teacher training within their inset training, and that teachers have had a profound shift in their understanding as a result. So if we can move on, please, Ben. The next few slides are just showing you what it looks like. So this is literally how it works. So they're all really simple materials. You can just click on and do it. And these are the first few slides. If we can have the next one as well, please. And this is the next couple. And then finally, you've got the others. So they're really, really easy to access and to use. If we can then move on to the pupil curriculum. So we've got the 5 curricula that we've got available. And in terms of if we could have the next slide, each one of those has a lesson plan and a lesson overview for the whole curriculum. So as you'd imagine, we've got very clear lesson objectives, very clear cross-curricular opportunities, explains exactly what all the activities are and how long they take. We've got star words within the primary and core vocabulary within the secondary. And the feedback from these curricula was very strong. 86% of the teachers in the pilot said they'd be more than happy just to deliver them straight off and they had no training to deliver them. You don't need any AI expertise to deliver them. So it's they're really easy to use. And if I could have the next slide, which is we're nearing the end of what I was planning to say. This is an example of one of the misinformation slides for 8-year-olds. And what we found is that primary school children are able to understand an enormous amount of complexity in terms of the impact of what they do, and therefore able to shape their actual actions based on what they're learning. Okay, Ben, if we can move off that onto the next one, and then I'm just going to wrap up and take questions and hopefully help people. So what we've done here is you're going to get links to how you can get involved, but I'd also love to take your questions. So I've given a very, very brief summary, and I can give you an awful lot more detail based on what you're particularly interested in. So if you've got any queries, please email me. There's my LinkedIn if you want to get in touch. You've got there the booking link for the head teacher training. We've got one more session in Bath in July this year. There will then be a whole suite of training starting in September all around the UK. So if you would like to get informed about that, you sign up to the waiting list, and then we notify you of all the training sessions that are available. You get the resources by attending the training. So that's how it works. You've then got the link to the website for more information, and you've got a link to the report that I showed you there. And if you're interested in hosting a region for us or working with us in that way, just get in touch. So that was all I was going to share then. So if people would like to have any questions, please feel free to delve into any of the detail, because I've given you the quickest possible summary to allow plenty of time for you to find out what you'd really like to know. So over to you, Ben.